Everything Kingdom Hearts has ever told you about Keyblades is lies. Everything Avatar: The Last Airbender has ever told you about bending is also lies. By the time you finish watching this fake video game theory, you're going to know the truth. Let's just say that Sora and Aang have a lot more in common than you might think. To start off, let's talk about Keyblades. If there's anything my lifelong obsession with Kingdom Hearts has taught me about Keyblades, it's that we know nothing about Keyblades. The first time we ever see one, it appears in Sora's hand out of thin air for no apparent reason. In the first Kingdom Hearts, we never get much information about what the Keyblade is or where it comes from. No one ever really sits Sora down and tells him what the Keyblade is or why he suddenly has it. Leon and Yuffie sort of do, but all they really tell him is that the Keyblade chooses its master, which is kinda cryptic. Then King Triton comes along and tells him that the Keybearer shatters peace and brings ruin, which doesn't really lift the spirits. It's kinda sad, actually. Other than these two times, Kingdom Hearts 1 doesn't give us much more information about the Keyblade, and it ends without ever explaining what the Keyblade really is. We get our most detailed explanation of Keyblades from Master Xehanort in his various evil monologues. According to him, there was originally only one Keyblade, the Keyblade, the one true Keyblade, if you will. People were so amazed by the one true Keyblade that they crafted Keyblades of their own and became the first Keyblade wielders. I, for one, don't believe Mr. Spock. Master Xehanort. If the first Keybearers crafted their own Keyblades, wouldn't that mean that Keyblades are physical objects? Wouldn't they have to be physically passed down in order for our current Keyblade heroes to use them? This clearly isn't the case in any of the games. The characters all summon their Keyblades to their hands in a magical flash of light. You could argue that Keyblades appearing out of thin air is just a visual cue for players and that that's not what's really happening. Maybe it's like in the manga where we see Sora carrying his Keyblade around in his belt. Or maybe he's actually using some kind of Keyblade scabbard that would be way too complicated to go into. Maybe the magical flash is just easier to animate. I see two problems with this. The first problem is that we see Keyblades appearing in people's hands all the time in cutscenes. There's the time Leon picks up Sora's Keyblade and it flies back into Sora's hand. Then there's the time Sora hands Captain Jack Sparrow his Keyblade and summons it back just to mess with him. The Keyblade being able to magically disappear and reappear is essential to this joke. What's not a joke is the fact that Captain Jack Sparrow might actually be a Keyblade wielder now. Calypso help us all. There's even the time at the end of Dream Drop Distance when Axel blatantly complains about not being able to get his Keyblade to materialize in his hand. Keyblades appearing out of thin air is too important in these scenes to be just a visual cue. It must actually be happening. The second problem is, Keyblade scabbards? That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. Since major cutscenes show Keyblades appearing out of thin air and Keyblade scabbards are nonsense, we have to assume that Keyblades appearing magically in people's hands is a real phenomenon. It's the only logical conclusion. That still leaves one tiny little problem. That's against the laws of physics. You can't make something out of nothing. I know we're talking about a world where you can fly if you believe hard enough and mer people are real, but bear with me. There's a lot of magic in the world of Kingdom Hearts, and Keyblades are clearly magical objects, so it's very possible that the first Keyblade users were magic users. Or they could have been Earthbenders. The first Keybearers didn't craft their Keyblades with tools. Instead, they used their earthbending powers to bend metal into shapes that resembled the one true Keyblade. Sora, Riku, Kairi, and all the other Keyblade wielders in Kingdom Hearts weren't chosen by the Keyblade. They're just metal benders. It's not that far-fetched to propose that story elements from a completely unrelated television show have ties to Kingdom Hearts. Organization 13 is full of benders. Lexius, Axel, Zaldin, and Demyx each represent the four elements of bending. You even have Vexen, an advanced waterbender who can bend ice, and Larxene, an advanced firebender who can bend lightning. The organization is 57% bender. That's majority bender, people. And all the other non-member And all the other non-bender members of Organization 13 are just skilled magic users. Except for Marluxia. I think he's just obsessed with gardening. All the other ones I mentioned are definitely benders, though. It might seem unlikely, but when you think about it, it starts to make complete and total sense. Keyblade wielders are just really advanced, specialized earthbenders. When Sora summons his Keyblade, he's actually metal bending it into existence. Like most answers to burning questions in Kingdom Hearts, this just raises more questions. If Keyblade wielders in Kingdom Hearts are really earthbenders, how come we never see them bending anything other than their Keyblades? The answer is simple. They don't know they're earthbenders. They all believe that they're chosen wielders of the magical Keyblade, when in reality they're just doing exactly what their genetics programmed them to do. They remain blissfully unaware of their Earthbender roots. All of them except for Master Xehanort. Of all the Keybearers in Kingdom Hearts, Xehanort is the only one who ever bends actual Earth. During the cutscene before the final battle in Birth by Sleep, we see Xehanort making precise hand gestures while the earth and metal Keyblades around him respond directly to his every move. In the recent Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer, we see Xehanort rising up into the air on a pillar of Earth. These are the only times we ever see Xehanort bend the actual Earth, as opposed to the metal in his Keyblade, but it's undeniable proof that he knows he is an Earthbender. He knows exactly what he is. So, what does it all mean? I've thought long and hard about this question. I spent hours playing each and every game in the Kingdom Hearts series, poring over every cutscene, searching every pixel for clues, trying to piece the puzzle together. I'm glad to say that my search wasn't a meaningless waste of time. I finally found the answer from none other than Kairi's grandma. She might only appear in 2 scenes in the entire series, but in both of these scenes, Grandma tells the story of how the worlds were created. She tells Kairi that the worlds used to be one big world, but that it got destroyed and was pieced back together again by the light in the hearts of children. Since they were just children, the world didn't get put back together the same way it was before, and that's why the worlds are separate. This story was the key to solving the mystery. Everything fell into place, and I can say with complete confidence that the world that existed before the Keyblade War and the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender are one and the same. The Keyblade War was actually a bending war in which benders clashed with benders, and that included Keyblade-wielding metal benders. After the war, when the world was put back together by children, bending was still possible, but benders and their bending knowledge were spread across the worlds. This diluted the bending knowledge, and on some worlds, bending died out. This is not to say that the bending techniques were completely lost. There could very well be worlds where people still practice the kind of bending we see in Avatar: The Last Airbender. The Keyblade wielders in Kingdom Hearts just so happen to be born in a section of the worlds where bending is unknown. This is why none of them know about earthbending or any other kind of bending. The Keyblade traditions and techniques that Ericus and Yen Sid taught their students were really earthbending and metal bending techniques that had gotten lost in translation over the years after the war. Let's recap. It turns out that the world before the Keyblade War was the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Keyblade War was a bending war, and Keyblade wielders are metal benders. Oh, and Xehanort knows all of this. He has to. He is a genius tactician after all. Once he figured out that he could earthbend, the rest was probably really easy for him to figure out. I mean, who would be able to figure this all out? In true Kingdom Hearts fashion, this just makes things more confusing. If Xehanort is aware of everything, why would he leave it out of his various evil monologues? Why did he never tell anyone about the earthbending origins of the Keyblade? Did he just choose not to mention it? Was he lying as part of his evil plan? Could it be that my entire theory is completely baseless and untrue? I think not. There's no way to know for sure what Xehanort's real motives are, but I think he conveniently left out part of the Keyblade's history so that he could have an advantage over everyone else. If he's the only one who knows Keybearer's full potential to earthbend, that just gives him more power over other Keybearers. I also think his plan involves tracking down the Avatar. There's no evidence for this whatsoever, but I still think it's true. While I don't think he could have figured out on his own that there's a person somewhere out there who can bend all 4 elements, I do think it's plausible that he could have found a faraway world where bending is still practiced and well known. While there, he learned the advanced earthbending techniques he uses in Birth by Sleep, and also learned about the existence of the Avatar. I'm not sure about the details, but one way or another, the Avatar factors into Xehanort's master plan. That just leaves one last question that needs answering. Who is the Avatar? I pondered this question for many days and sleepless nights. I couldn't consider this fake video game theory complete without an answer. I needed to know who the Avatar was. I needed to know the truth. And so I went back to my non-stop playthrough of Kingdom Hearts for answers, more determined than ever. I considered every possible candidate, including Goofy. Fortunately, Goofy isn't the Avatar, but he might be an earthbender with the way he pulls that shield out of nowhere. No, the Avatar is someone much more responsible and level-headed, someone who wouldn't make you feel doomed as doomed can be, someone who could master all 4 elements like it was no problem at all. The Avatar is Riku. You might think that's the most ludicrous thing you've ever heard in your entire life, but the proof is everywhere. Out of all the characters in Kingdom Hearts, Riku is the only one we've seen bend each and every element. We've already established that Riku is an earthbender since he wields the Keyblade. Then in Kingdom Hearts 2, we see him shooting fire out of his bare hands whenever he performs the attack Dark Aura. Every other character who uses fire magic has to use some kind of weapon as a medium, like Donald and his staff or Sora and his Keyblade. Riku doesn't need to use his Keyblade, he can shoot it directly out of his bare hands, a la firebending. By the looks of those blue flames, he's pretty good at it too. It's also in Kingdom Hearts 2 that we see Riku airbending. During his battle against Roxas, when Riku removes his blindfold to unleash the darkness inside of him, air swirls around him and he rises into the air. It might not be a conscious choice to airbend, but Riku is definitely airbending in this scene. Finally, in the opening to Kingdom Hearts 1, we see Riku standing in front of an enormous tidal wave as it threatens to crush him. We're meant to believe that this tidal wave is a naturally occurring enormous tidal wave, but it isn't. Riku is waterbending that tidal wave. That's why he looks so calm and uncaring even as it drags him under. He doesn't have anything to worry about because he's a waterbender. Although this scene takes place in Sora's dream, it's important to remember that everything that happens in Sora's dream is symbolic or metaphorical. It all means something. Sure, the wave could represent the coming upheaval in Sora's life as he's thrust into the outer world and forced to take up the responsibility of the Keyblade, but it could just as easily represent Riku's raw waterbending skills and his destiny as the Avatar. We may never know for sure. If we take Sora's dream as proof that Riku can waterbend, which I wholeheartedly do, then Riku shows the ability to bend all 4 elements. There's no denying that Riku is the Avatar. Since his home is an island surrounded by endless ocean, Riku most likely falls in the water phase of the Avatar cycle. This would mean that he should have learned waterbending first, but as far as we can tell from the Kingdom Hearts series, he learned earthbending first. Riku's failure to learn his bending in the right order would explain why he makes so many bad decisions in the first game. Learning the elements out of order caused an imbalance in him, which caused him to fall astray and turn on his friends. If he had learned waterbending before learning to wield the Soul Eater, which I assume is made of metal, he probably could have avoided spiraling so easily into evil. Although Riku eventually atones for his mistakes, we still don't see any sign that he ever learned waterbending in his journeys. He doesn't even seem to be aware that there's anything different or special about himself. There's no point where everything clicks for him and he realizes that everything he's ever known about himself and the Keyblade is a complete lie. I'm positive that this has nothing to do with the fact that Kingdom Hearts and Avatar: The Last Airbender are entirely different universes with entirely different writers, directors, and staff. The extreme differences between these two series only serve to confuse us and keep us off the trail of the truth. The truth that Square Enix and the creators of Avatar have tried so desperately to keep us all from finding out. Fortunately, they can't keep it secret forever. When Kingdom Hearts 3 finally comes out this month, it will no doubt shed some light on Riku's ultimate destiny as the Avatar, Xehanort's evil bending-related plot, and bending as a whole in the Kingdom Hearts universe. It's only a matter of waiting, and Kingdom Hearts fans are very good at that.
Today's episode is brought to you by cabbages. Eat cabbages. They're delicious. And you know what else is delicious? All these other videos I created. Go watch them. And if you're on mobile, you'll just see random images of cabbages. I'm truly sorry. I hope you enjoyed this fake video game theory, and I hope you enjoy playing Kingdom Hearts 3 when it finally comes out in just a little over 1 week. It's fairly exciting. And when you play Kingdom Hearts 3, you'll find out that this fake video game theory is 100% true. You'll see. You'll all see.